It's time for Pod of the Dead. Join us.
That's like a thing. All right. Hello and welcome to Pod of the Dead, the internet horror film club that nobody asked for. I am your host today, Natasha, and with me as always are my two final girls, Stephanie.
Hello.
And Nicholas.
I am nobody's final girl, damn it.
Today we are going to be going over The Craft from 1996.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, I'm assuming most people have. Before I get into the overview, what are your guys' histories with this movie?
I remember seeing this a lot as a child in childhood, in my younger years or whatever, and I remember having fond memories of it. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
All right.
I've seen this movie like a bajillion times. I don't know very many millennial girls who haven't watched this and wished that we were the girls in the movie when we were kids and being like, I wish I was that cool and that was my life. And so, yeah, I have fond memories of it, definitely.
Hot Topic owes the creators of this movie a lot of fucking money because if it weren't for this movie, I don't think that their clientele would have given them the money to be the spooky chicks that they wanted to be.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm a lot like you, Steph. I loved this movie as a kid. I wanted to be one of them. So, yeah, I think it holds up. So, if you haven't seen The Craft, you don't know what it is. It's a 1996 American teen supernatural horror film directed by Andrew Fleming from a screenplay by Peter Filardi and Fleming, and the story is written by Filardi. It stars Robin Tooney, Fairuza Balk, Neve Campbell, and Rachel True. It follows four outcast teenage girls in LA at a parochial high school who pursue witchcraft on their own for their own gain and subsequently experience negative repercussions.
Yep. That about sums it up.
Yeah, it also like it stars Neve Campbell, right? And it stars Skeet Ulrich, both of them from Scream.
Yeah.
And it came out like the same year as Scream.
It did.
Yeah. That was weird.
Steph brought that up. She was like, what year did this come out? So we looked, it's like they literally were just tandem, like both of those movies at the same time.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to do the same thing. And I was really surprised that they did come out at the same year. For whatever reason, I was thinking The Craft was much older than Scream.
You thought
I
it
don't know if that's
predated
because
Scream?
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I maybe saw Scream later. I wasn't able to watch Scream when it first came out, whereas The Craft I was. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know.
It kind of has a feel that like maybe this was made like since it came out the same year. I don't know this. I didn't do the research this week because this is Tasha's birthday movie, so she did all the research for it. Yep. So happy birthday month, Tasha. Enough of that, everybody. We did that. Okay. But no,
give me all the attention.
But considering Neve Campbell isn't like the star of this, and like Skeet Ulrich is just like the boyfriend kind of side character that's not like in the limelight or anything, it makes you wonder if this was shot before Scream and all that kind of stuff. Like, because if this would have been made after Scream and there was buzz about it, they would have been pushed forward, would have had a higher paycheck requirement and stuff like that.
Maybe,
so it'd be interesting. Like, I don't know, considering they came out the same year, like,
and they're the same love interest too, which was like in the sense of like, well, I guess they weren't in this one, but
no, because Skeet Ulrich's all about.
She was the
Robin.
love. They were that's true. They were the love interest in Scream, but like, that's true. I was thinking that they were love interest in this or not. That was Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
I was trying to look it up really quick because I didn't look that up in my research.
When this was made?
The Craft came out first. They were filming Scream when The Craft came out.
Okay, so that makes sense.
That does, yeah. Yeah, because they weren't as high grossing in this at all. Like they are definitely big side characters.
Well, yeah,
in this.
like not that we know what it grossed, but there's no way that this grossed as much as Scream did.
No.
Right, yeah. Speaking of budget and grossing, how much do you think how much do you think the budget was? Yeah, it's
I'm
fun.
on the other side of this.
Yes.
You don't have the answers.
Congratulations,
I'm going to say
honey.
the budget for this film, considering it's mid 90s horror and stuff, I'm going to guess it's about like $9 million.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 12 million.
Steph is closer.
What?
Yay!
$15 million
Okay. All right.
Oh, that's
for this budget.
I lowballed it. I was like, maybe like it's somewhere like 10 to 20 probably, but like I don't want to overstep it, so I just undershot the fuck out of it, I guess.
That beach scene, I'm sure, cost a lot.
A lot. Yeah.
All those dead sharks, that cost a lot of money.
Yeah. So with that budget, what do you think their worldwide box office earnings were?
You said it was $15 million and it came out before Scream.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna guess it's something like, what's a reasonable number? I'm gonna guess like fucking $36.5 million.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 75.
Right. It's basically in the middle, 55.6.
Okay. They still made all their money back, so that's
Yeah,
good.
this is hard to not have the numbers in front of you.
Yeah.
It's almost surprising.
What do you think? But you just have to guess out of thin air instead of having like it written down.
I know.
I thought the 40-some episodes that came before this, I might have something figured out, but I guess not. I ain't got
Nope.
shit figured out. God damn.
We never do either. We're just literally pulling it out of our ass.
Yeah. And it's kind of just calibrated based on previous movies we've watched.
Yeah.
There's really no logic on my
No.
end.
No, me either.
It was, for that year, it was number 8 in horror. So it
Okay.
did hit the top 10. The rest of them are movies, quite a few movies I haven't heard of. So I'm curious to see about you guys.
All right, let's
Okay.
see.
So at number 10, it's the Ebola syndrome,
Oh, never heard of that one.
Nope.
Fear.
Yeah, I remember Fear. That's got Marky Mark in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's the movie. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Marky
I haven't
Mark.
seen it.
Marky
though.
Mark's like the stalker, abusive boyfriend. Like
Yeah.
it's a sexy horror film.
I haven't
Oh,
seen
okay.
it.
There were a lot of sexy horror films that came out around this time.
Yes.
I feel like.
Yeah, sex.
Then the.
Oh, yeah, like sexy horror stuff was the only way to get people into the movie theater at this time because, like, you had all the 80s stuff, and then the early 90s, it was all thrillers that were like, like sex-driven thrillers and stuff like that, and then like it like turned and evolved into like sexy horror. So yeah.
And then we have The Craft,
Okay.
Arcane Sorcerer,
No,
Never heard of that shit. Okay.
The Sendhall Syndrome.
no. What the
Okay.
fuck are these movies?
I have no idea. Maybe they were worldwide, like instead of United States.
Sendhall
The Sendhall Syndrome is directed by Dario Argento, so I'm
Okay.
surprised, Nick, that you don't know that one.
That one doesn't ring a bell. I mean, but that would be an Italian horror film. So you're right on
Okay.
that stuff.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm not an Italian horror aficionado. I am familiar
Gotcha.
with Argento's work. I've seen a handful of his films, but by no means am I here to go like, no, yes, I know all of Argento's work.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And we have The Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, I remember that
Okay.
one. That's
don't think I've
Val
seen that.
Kilmer, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. The Frighteners.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's Peter Jackson. It's got Michael J. Fox. So
No
the dude that
idea.
made Brain Dead.
No idea.
Ooh. From Dusk Till Dawn. Everyone
Yeah, hell
knows
yeah.
that
Oh,
one.
Fuck
Yeah. Thesis.
Never heard of
I
that
don't
one.
Never heard of it.
Me neither. And then Scream.
Yeah,
Yay.
obviously. Hold
And
on.
that probably beat the shit out of
Thesis-
all of them by a lot.
Thesis
Yeah.
was the number 2 movie for 1996 when it comes to horror. So that's one that
Yeah.
I'll have to check into because I have no
Based on IMDb.
Okay.
Okay.
Right on.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Wow. A lot of those
Alejandro.
I've never heard of.
I think it's a French.
Foreign.
It's foreign. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So anyway. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So yeah, and then like for just basic, that's the same year, 1996 is the same year Twister came out, so we have a
Oh, right
resurgence
on.
of that currently.
Yay.
The first Mission Impossible.
Hell
So-
yeah. T. Crizzle coming in hot.
oh my
See, a lot
god.
of these movies I know now.
Yeah.
101 Dalmatians.
Oh wow.
The live action movie with Glenn Close, I take it. Because a cartoon came out like a long time ago, right?
Oh yeah, I think this was probably Yeah, that would make sense that it's not
Yeah, that's true. I think
not
the
the animated
original, I think the animated one came out in like 1991 or 92 or something like that. So maybe.
This ain't
the Nutty
Disney
Professor,
podcast.
which is great.
Yeah, that
Everyone
was
loves
cute.
the Nutty Professor. And then number 1 was Independence Day.
Goddamn,
yeah.
Will Smith at it again.
That movie is so,
So
good. It's so good.
The only
We
things
just watched it recently,
the
actually.
only things I really care about in that movie is Jeff Goldblum's character. I like him in it.
Okay.
Right? And it's been a long time
No.
since I've seen that. He's
Jeff
in it,
Gold-
right? Jeff Goldblum's in it. Yeah, he's the scientist.
Smokes the cigar.
Oh, okay. It's been a
Remember
very long time
Yeah.
since I've
And
seen
then there's
that.
there's a
In the
scene
ship.
there's a scene where a dog jumps through a doorway and it's some of the worst CGI fire I've ever seen in my life. Does anybody remember this?
No,
No.
it's lost on me.
If you remember that, let me know at podofthedead666@gmail.com. That's all I remember like about that movie.
All right.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in at least 15 to 20 years.
It's
Oh my
so
God,
good.
I feel so fucking old. Yeah.
That's because we are old, babe. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh
We're
God.
elder millennials.
Yeah, legitimately. Ooh.
So one of the cool things I found out while researching this, while they were shooting the movie, Fairuza Balk actually got really into Wicca, and she ended up buying a magic shop that she had for quite a few years. I think she had it for almost like 10 years or so in LA. It's called Panpime's Magical Marketplace in Hollywood. So she got really invested, and I thought that was super cool.
That's
That
dope.
is.
She took her work home with her for sure.
Literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
The only movies that I really know her from, because she has a very striking image. The films that come to mind that she's in is obviously The Craft. I think that's probably one of the movies that she's most known for, besides The Water Boy, because she's the
Yep.
girlfriend in that. But then also, I remember, any of you guys ever seen Return to Oz? Which is like the Wizard of Oz sequel that came out in the 80s. She plays like a young, like, I don't think it's Dorothy. It's been a long time, but it's like a really twisted, dark, like not horror, but it's like a really fucking like creepy like look for the Wizard of Oz. And it like takes place years later, but she plays like the young character that goes to Oz. That's
Okay.
like one of her first roles. Like those are the 3 things that I think of when I think of her.
Yeah, I
Gotcha.
forgot she was in The Water Boy. Yeah, she's the girlfriend in
Yeah,
that.
she's the one holding up the sign. Do you want me to kill him? I use that GIF all the time.
And she plays a lot of the same roles in that. She's always kind of that like witchy, kind of
Yeah,
Dark
she's
kind
other
of
side of the tracks.
alternative. Yeah.
Definitely
I
has
really
that
like
other
her
side
for
of the
that.
tracks feel. Like
Yeah.
stuff like, like in this movie, like she lives in a dilapidated fucking trailer. Like
Yeah.
it has that feel.
Yeah.
That's true.
During like while they were shooting this, Andrew Fleming tried his damnedest and followed all guidelines to make this a PG-13 film. But get this, it got the R rating, not because of like just trigger warning. There is a big suicide like undertone to this movie.
Yeah.
Not because of that, but because teenage girls were practicing witchcraft.
Oh yeah, it's kind of this. It's kind of the
why.
same
Oh my
thing that like
God.
why the Conjuring got a rated R was because it's like it's just too scary. It's like that's
Yeah.
not a thing.
Right.
Realistically, I didn't even know that this was rated R. This
I
feels
didn't
PG-13 as
either.
fuck.
It feels very PG-13. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
But
really
no.
rated R.
That's fucking
Yeah.
stupid.
So it got a hit in the box office because the clientele that this movie was made for couldn't go see it
100%.
as readily available.
That's kind of the same thing that we talked about when we covered Jennifer's Body. Like it was rated R, but like it's definitely targeted towards more teenagers. But like
Yeah.
it's like
But
language and
that
stuff like
actually
that.
should
Yeah.
be rated R. This is
100%.
not.
But I'm just
That's-
talking about the box office hit. Like
Yeah.
that's what I've always like when
Yeah.
we went and saw. Well, we'll talk about it later. But when we saw a movie this week and stuff, that is something like crossing a certain barrier of how much money it's going to make. It could
It's
make
because
more
it's
money if
rated
it's
R.
PG-13,
Yeah.
which I hate that because like I'm much
It
more a fan
ruins
of
it.
R-rated stuff. But
Yeah, I feel like it ruins it. It's like you can't.
pulling punches.
There's so many rules that you have to follow
Right.
for PG-13 that you can break out of it for rated R.
this movie would have been 100 times better if they knew they were getting the rated R and they just
Yes.
went, fuck it, we're getting the R,
Yes.
so let's do it.
I agree.
This movie, like that's my problem with this movie now. As a kid, I fucking love this movie, but that's because I was in love with Nev Campbell. But like 1996, I guess, was a great year for a young Nicholas because I got Scream and whatever. But yeah, like if they knew that they were getting a rated R and they're like, fuck it, this could have been so much darker, so much creepier, so much more effective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they could have put more blood and stuff in it, and they could have actually
There's almost no blood.
I know,
Right.
and they could have played into it a lot more. That is sad. Like I said, I didn't even know that till now. Like, that's fucked up. Like, hey, we followed all the rules, but because it might sway teenage girls to practice witchcraft, we need to read this R.
Well,
Yeah, that's
America
kind of lame.
America
It is
was
really lame.
built on fucking puritanical psychopaths. So I mean, what do we expect?
Legitimately, yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
During casting for Nev Campbell's character, she almost wasn't in this movie, Nick.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
a lot of other heavy hitters auditioned for her part, including Angelina Jolie.
You would have been really good in it because like she's great in Girl Interrupted.
Yeah.
I don't see her playing Bonnie, though.
I could see her playing Nancy.
Exactly.
Really fucking good. But I could see her playing Bonnie. I could see her realistically playing anyone but Sarah.
Correct.
Yeah, I couldn't see Sarah.
Yeah.
But she was Alicia Silverstone and Scarlett Johansson all for Bonnie.
Alicia
wow.
Silverstone.
She was pretty popular around this time.
Scarlett Johansson was acting back then? Okay.
I guess so.
I didn't know
According
that.
to this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I just don't think she was as big back then, so.
Yeah, I don't know who I would pick though for Sarah. Like, do you have anything about like any casting for Sarah that they were talking about by chance? Because like that's one of my shortcomings of this film is I think that the three girls that are like the coven prior to Robin and stuff like that, or Sarah prior to Sarah, is really good. But I think our protagonist in it, I think, is very weak.
Yeah.
I don't
have anything about other people for her, but personally, I think Alicia Silverstone could have played Sarah's role.
That would have been good. Like that would have worked.
I have a problem with Alicia Silverstone. So
Is it because of
Just in
Batman
general?
and the Aerosmith video? Is that why?
No, it's every time I watch her, as much as I like her in acting, because I love Clueless and stuff, the way she talks is very distracting to me. She has a very unique mouth, and like her mouth moves oddly, and so it's very distracting to me personally when I watch her. Not that I don't want to, it's just I like that we have basically an actress that has no name in this movie, and I thought she did okay. But with how star-studded, well, not necessarily completely star-studded, it is to us now, but at the time maybe not. I think they probably could have done a little bit because we got what's the other Christina Applegate or whatever, is that who that is?
Oh yes, no, that's not her, but she would have been good in this too.
No, who's the name I'm missing?
You're talking about the I've got her here. You're talking about Laura Lizzie.
Yeah, is that her, the bad girl?
She's played by Christine Taylor.
Oh, Christine Taylor.
Oh, okay.
But I do see the resemblance. Yeah,
they look so much like. Yeah, she's from the Brady Bunch. That's all I could remember. Is like she played in that. I couldn't remember who it was, but yeah.
All right, guys, you ready to get into spoiler territory?
I think so.
Let me think here.
You have anything else you want to say?
No, I think I'm good. I'm interested to see what your guys' take is on this, because I have a feeling that my take is going to be different than your guys's.
We already know that. You were also not a girl growing up idolizing witches.
Oh, I idolized them all right, just in a different way.
In a different way.
All right. So, as I said at the beginning, this is a film club. We are going to get into some pretty detailed spoiler territory coming up. So, if for whatever reason you haven't seen The Craft and you don't want it to be spoiled, go watch it and then come back to this episode. Or if you just want the homework, then you can pop into about the last 10 minutes and we'll let you know what next week's movie homework is going to be.
Oh, and next week's homework is going to be amazing.
Garbage.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. I was talking to Mom on the phone today and explained it to her, and she's like, oh my God, Natasha's going to hate that. I'm like, I know, she already knows.
You did okay it with me, which I have to keep remembering when I go to watch it, that I did say okay to it.
And when we're done recording this episode, I need to talk to you before we.
Oh,
leave
great!
Stuff.
Cool.
So, yes.
There's more. Oh, okay.
There's always more.
There's always more. Oh, real quick though, this has nothing to do with this episode. This has to do with next week's episode. But I was talking to Mom and stuff and everything, and she was like, "Well, why are you doing? Like, why is this happening? What? Oh, my baby girl, why is this happening?"
Because of our listeners.
Because of our listeners. Because
who we love.
Yes.
We love.
Some of us love our listeners more than others next week. But I was telling her, like, I remember when we originally talked about doing this podcast before it was Pod of the Dead and stuff. It was literally going to be called Terrorizer, and it was me pushing Tasha through horror, whether she liked it or not. So this was never the case for this podcast. But who fucking believes that the fact, or not who believes, but like, I can't believe that it basically is rearing its head up, and it's like, oh, Tasha's gonna fucking hate this. I'm like, oh, this was the original idea.
Oh, great. Tasha's gonna hate it.
But all right.
Okay.
Let's get into it.
Throw us into the territory.
I just did. We're in spoiler territory.
There you go. Last chance.
Time to be spoiled. If you'd like to be part of our horror film club, make sure to follow us at Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Pod of the Dead. All of our episodes can be found at podofthedeadorelse.com or wherever you stream music and podcasts. If you have movie recommendations or questions for us, email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Or else.
Yeah.
So, Nick, you didn't like it? I think this movie held up, and I said that multiple times watching it. This is a movie that I haven't seen in quite a few years, but I could consider it a comfort watch.
I can understand that.
I loved it.
I can understand that.
Do you have your review, honey?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
All right. These
Did
are
you
not.
type up something?
No, you sent me.
Oh, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, you sent me my 10 out of 10.
Give us that sweet 10 out of 10.
That Nick wrote, and he loves it, and this is his endorsement for this movie.
These are his words coming out of his mouth.
100%.
Play it on us.
Fuck you guys. All right.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Nope. 10 out of 10. And it starts off as complete slander and libel right here. This is not favorite film after Heathers.
Oh, who knew?
Oh, okay.
I mean, I took Sydney to go see the Heathers musical just this past, within the last year. So, all right. I don't understand how anyone can not like this film. Oh, just wait. I'll let you know. It freaked me out a bit the first time I saw it, but now, as I'm older, instead of being scared of this film, I have fallen in love with it.
Okay.
It is.
We're glad you fell in love with it, honey.
I know,
We're
right?
so glad.
It is one of those films that it doesn't matter if you've watched it 100 times, you still reach for it, and when you feel like watching a film. Okay. The acting's brilliant, especially from Fairuza Balk. I'll give her that. Like, she did great in this.
She is great, yeah.
This was the first time I'd ever seen her in a film, and she completely blew me away with her brilliant performance. This film also has some funny moments. For example, she's gonna cry, then I'm gonna cry, we're all gonna cry. I don't remember that. I do. I think that's Fairuza
It was like
Balk.
a one-off. No, it's one of Skeet Ulrich's friends.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
You're right.
He's
in
just
the hole.
being a dick. Yeah.
Mitt.
Sure.
No, that's his name. I've got the casting list up here.
Hi.
You really have to watch the film to find that amusing. Can I also say any film with Skeet Ulrich in it is is a worthy watching. Okay.
No.
LOL.
LOL. Yes. LOL. Yeah.
I didn't put that. Go watch this film. You will regret it if you don't.
Very true.
Okay.
There
sure.
you go. Skeet Ulrich. I always joke that he's like the
Dollar store.
store Johnny Depp. Yeah. He's the bargain value Johnny
Which is-
Depp. And he's fine. That's not to say he's not a good actor,
But
serviceable.
But what is like amazing about that comment, because I don't know if you said that first, if I've said that first, but that
I
is
think
like,
I did, and then
I
we've
think
been
that's
running with
something
it.
out there. Skeet Ulrich is in Scream, which is directed and created by Wes Craven. Johnny Depp is in Nightmare on Elm Street, which is created and directed by Wes Craven. They both play the same role. He literally is the 90s version of Johnny Depp for Scream.
Yeah.
So it literally is.
I mean, they do have similarities. I mean,
Yeah, they're both
seriously,
brooding. They're both brooding young lads.
Yeah.
They both have gorgeous eyes that just look at you.
Yeah.
But they can only look at you one way, and it's like this, like, what's
Oh,
going on?
mysterious.
Yes. Yes. Okay. I got
What
a 1
about
out of
that?
10 here.
I don't believe it.
Okay.
Why couldn't have you given me the 1 out of 10?
Because that's not how this works.
No, I get the 1 out of the 10.
Right.
So
And by
there.
default, you got the 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So there
Fuck
you
this
go.
podcast.
This movie was actually painful to watch. I mean, good Lord. The fact that this was rated so highly makes me sad.
Yes.
This is a bad mix of two bad things. Chick flicks and paranormal thrillers. It
Nice.
should have been clear to the screenwriter that this was a bad idea to begin with. But what is truly pathetic is that the production company allowed this hunk of cinematic vomit to get the silver screen. How do
I think
they
they're
get?
being a little harsh. I mean, I don't
Little.
care for this film, but
I mean,
goddamn.
it's a 1 out of 10. So
know.
they're
They
angry.
hate
They're
this
angry.
It's
movie.
allowed to be
This
created.
movie killed their dog.
Yeah, literally.
This film has one thing going for it. The one thing it got right for it, the special effects, sort of.
Okay.
No, see, I think that's a huge misstep in this film. I think the special
Yeah.
effects in it are pretty dog shit.
But we are thinking about the 90s, so.
Yeah. It always
Twister came out this year. We've
That's
already said
true.
that.
And that
Twister
movie
came out
was
this year.
really good. Yeah.
It still holds up.
Yeah,
Its special
it
effects are still
does.
really good.
It really, yeah. It always seemed.
And Jurassic Park came out before this.
Okay. Well, when you put it that way.
But the budgets, you have to look at the budgets though. Like the budgets for those are going
Yeah, I
to
get
be
it. No, I'm
astronomical.
just being a
comparison
shitball.
to this. I know you are. It always seemed to me that a good movie should be judged by its story and plot line, but clearly the production company doesn't hold this view. That's nice. We'll talk about that in a minute. Otherwise, they would have put this where it belongs, the trash can. This movie has flat acting, and I was disappointed because it was listed as a horror film. What that usually means is that it scares people, and it did. All it did was make me laugh and disgusted me.
That is one of my big things with this. Is as we were watching it, I was like, I don't classify this as a horror film. Like there is
But
nothing.
it was intended
It is-
to be PG-13,
correct.
and it didn't end up being.
Well, and it's also
PG-13.
witches and stuff. Like yes, it is horror adjacent, but like the fact that like this like is a 90s horror classic, I think is a disservice to the genre.
Ouch.
Yeah, no shit. What?
Because like I understand, you know, like this definitely like fits the bill of being like baby's first horror film. This could easily be baby's
Kind
first
of.
R-rated horror film because
It was
I
supposed to be PG-13.
did not know it was R.
Yeah.
But yeah, like fucking, it's so I don't know.
But
It
think
is-
about
and
the
it's not
client.
even-
Like, think about who it's for. How many horror movies out there are meant for teen girls?
Correct.
Well, I
To
don't
the
know.
point that when I was a kid,
Exactly.
we used to watch it with groups of girls, and we would have candles, and we would have our like little things on the floor, like our popcorn and our drinks with the lights off, and then we would pretend we were going to do the light as a feather, stiff as a board shit. It never worked out for us, but it doesn't mean we didn't fucking try, and we weren't excited to watch the movie and do all of that. That incited like a whole bunch of like I don't know, our seeing witches in a different light than you normally do, and kind of going, well, that's kind of cool, because you
Yeah.
had this going on, and then you also had Clueless. So when we were watching movies as kids, and from my experience, it was like we loved Clueless because it was like the preppy cool girls, and then you got to watch The Craft because it was like oh, now we got the witchy vibes going on. Which one do we like more? And then that's
Right.
what we kind of, honestly, as I kind of remember, it was like we swayed to both of those during that time frame in life. And it was like we got to do both because both these movies came out and we got to resonate with them. So
Yeah.
Now here's a
Like
question.
light as a feather, stiff as a board is like ingrained in my like memory as something I did at parties. And like trying to call the four corners, like all of that stuff is like we could if they're doing it, we could do it, you know?
That poses an interesting question for me because like I know for a fact one thing, which this movie was not made for teenage girls. Like there's like, especially during the 90s, that like they didn't like target demographics that hard in that sense, especially
but
considering
the age group of the girls in the movie.
I understand
Right.
that, but what I'm saying though is, do you think that this movie does the female gaze justice? Because this is written by guys, directed by guys, all that stuff. Do you think that because it's that whole thing of men writing women, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it does justice to that? Considering when you were younger, you gravitated towards it, you felt like it was made for you, speaking for you kind of thing. Did it do a good job of that? Because I never looked at it in the sense of that growing up. Like I really liked it as a kid because like, you know, like whatever, like this was a nostalgia watch. Like I was like, I've seen this movie so many fucking times. So much of it fell flat for me though. And by that, I'm just like, I'm not going to say anything, but like, that's me now, you know, but as a kid, like it never hit me as like a chick flick. I understand people saying that now, like looking through like, you know, like hindsight and all this shit.
But it's women empowerment. I think that's the biggest
Right.
thing. Like whether it was written by a man or written by a woman, all of these are very powerful beings. And we'll talk about why they are in
That's
a
not
minute.
what I'm talking about. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, do you think that it does it justice considering that it's men doing it? Like prime example.
I think so.
Prime example is like nowadays, you know, like Barbie gets those accolades and stuff because it is women creating it and all this stuff, and it's that. This is men doing it. Do you think that it does a good job of it? Like that's all
I think so.
Yeah.
I really think it's because there is also a piece of relatability that they were able to capture in this, and I think that's like, even I don't look at it as the gender part of this because I wouldn't have known watching this whether this was written by a man or a woman.
That's
and
good,
so it is good. Yeah, exactly. And I liked it because it felt relatable. Like we have our BIPOC character who is, you know, living here and she's being, you know, there's racism, and so people can resonate with that if they live in that life and have to deal with that all the time. And then you have the person who has a disability or scars, and then she has to deal with the bullies and not feeling quite right in her skin, literally. And then you have the girl coming in after dealing with so much tragedy and like having to make new friends and make a new life. And then you have the poor girl who's in like a really fucked up life situation with an abusive stepfather, all of this stuff. And she's the outcast, and she's like the emo girl who just doesn't fit in, but she's also kind of crass and she's kind of a bitch, but you don't know if she's a bitch because of her life or if she's just technically a bitch. And so I think that every single character in this can be related to in a lot of ways by somebody who's watching it as a female, whether or not completely or whatever. And I think that's what makes it so nice for women or girls when we were young to watch it, because you could be like, wow, I resonate with this character a little bit more than the other one. So
Yeah, and I think having that like the overarching theme is witchcraft, and that already has like a feminine quality to it.
Correct.
And then you're just making it modern.
Yep.
And along with that, they actually had a Wiccan like person on set to make sure that everything that they did was true to that. And I have a feeling that really, really made it work. I feel like otherwise, if they didn't, then it might just be kind of like pandering.
There is one huge thing though that bothers me with their portrayal and stuff like that. Is the god that they deal with, was it Mammon or Mammon or whatever, is not a real. Yeah, it's not a real thing. Like I remember watching it and I was like, Well, like this doesn't sound like I'm very familiar with a lot of like paganistic gods and all these kind of things, right? Mm-hmm. So like I was like, this one doesn't ring a bell. I don't think this is a real thing. So I like looked into it. And yeah, they just made it up for the movie. I think it would have been way better if it was like a real deity that they were dealing with and stuff. I think that like I don't know. It just seems to me like a misstep.
I feel the opposite about that.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that this way it's nondescript. Like you can put any name in place of that. So if you're watching a movie that's about Christian stuff, then it's only about Christian stuff. If you're watching something that's specifically to, you're worshiping whatever, it's specific. This is, you can literally take it and go, well, we're worshiping Mother Nature, put whatever you want in that name.
There's all these gods and stuff that they could have used that do these things, but instead they're just like, we're just going to name it whatever. And I think it would have been a lot more interesting if they were literally like name dropping a certain god that they were like trying to gain power from and everything. Personally, these are the things that I want in films. That's what I'm saying. Like,
it was actually intentional to have it be a fictionalized god for like kind of what Steph was saying. So then you're not offending anyone, that no one would get upset, that you're not kind of fixating on a particular belief. And then that also gave rise to, they're carrying out like a lot of like Wiccan type like rituals, but having the fake deity then gave them license to kind of make stuff up, because then you don't have to refer to something specific. You can kind of work under this umbrella, but then have license to do more creative or different things.
And I get that.
And then you don't have to worry about offending people.
And I get that. I'm not worried about the offending people thing, because it's a horror film. Like, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're talking about like trying to summon something to gain power to, like, so if someone's
but that was like
offended,
a specific quote from him.
No, I get that. But this is another thing of me going and like, that's pulling a punch. You could have like went full bore into this, and I think it would have like, that's my problem with this movie is like, as a kid and stuff, it worked for me because, I hadn't seen all this stuff. Now that I've seen a bunch of stuff, I wanted more out of this. Mm-hmm. And that's where like like it could have been darker. It could have been more like there's nothing in this film that makes me feel like anybody is actually like dark and evil and stuff like that. Like Fairuza Balk, like she has her like fucking like freak out moments and stuff like that, but like at the end of the day it doesn't really resonate. So like when people are like, oh man, this was scary and everything, it's like, even as a kid I didn't think this was scary. So
the bugs and stuff for me were really the only thing that were like, oh yeah, but the rest of the stuff I didn't find scary either.
Like, and there is stuff like, I like the glamour thing near the end where Fairuza Balk makes her think that her parents are dead and she like cut her wrists and all that kind of stuff. Like, that stuff's cool, right? If they would have went into this knowing that they were getting a rated R, and this is not me saying like every film needs to be gore and shit like that, but I can only imagine how much creepier and more effective that whole scene would have been in that sense, because it still comes off very like peanut butter and jelly, like made for the kid. It's like, oh, like there's a little blood there. Oh, it's a little like, oh, it's creepy in the mirror. Like, but like it could have been way darker, way creepier and stuff like that, considering they got blackballed in a way by being like, nope, it's rated R because it deals with witchcraft. And it's like, well, if that's why we're getting a rated R, then fuck it, because they're trying to cut how dark they wanted to make it to get the rating. I would love to see this made by let's get a time machine and just go, they're giving you a rated R regardless. Just do the movie that you want to do, and don't try to fucking kid it. Don't nerf this. Stop trying to make it safe. I think that this movie would have been way fucking better.
Mm-hmm. Then maybe we should check out the 2020 version. I haven't seen it, but I know they did a remake, and I believe that's also rated R.
It is also garbage.
Do you know if it's made by the same people?
No,
Probably not. It's very long.
It's a cash grab. I think it's literally like rights were coming up, and they had to fucking make a film to keep the IP.
I see. I'm happy with it just being witchcraft. Mm-hmm. Not everything needs to be gore and gross. I personally think when Lizzie's hair is falling out, I had such a visceral response to that as a kid. Yeah. I still had that gross feeling when she's sitting in the shower and it's just falling out.
Yeah.
I had the same vibes that I did when I was younger. So things hit the same, oddly enough, for me with this. Like the beach scene, I still thought was incredible.
It was.
Where they're with all the animals. I love that. Like there's I don't really know where I'm going with this, but like the fact that it's not gory, shocking,
it has
doesn't
nothing to
affect
do with
me
the
at all.
gore. It just has to do with the mood. Like if it would have
You
been
could have
rated,
pushed it to the nth degree
it
with
could have been
being
just
rated R.
darker. Like that's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like we're talking about like Fairuza Balk's character has a fucking deity in her, and her fucked up mind is already fucking going to go. It could have been so much more, like for lack of a better term, evil. Like she could have been so much more nefarious and stuff. And that's where it's like it still is just like, but we want to be able to get 13-year-olds in here. If they knew they were getting the rated R, she could have been a lot more of a.
I mean, she does kill somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean-
like it's I don't know. Like it. I wish I could. This is the tamest rated R film ever because it was never meant to be a rated R film. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, it's literally like that's my
Right.
whole thing.
And it's purely because it's about witchcraft.
that.
not-
Yes.
That is such
Yeah.
bullshit. Like, this movie would have been.
Okay, so
Go ahead, honey.
It would have been if this were a PG-13 film. It would have been a better film. You know what I mean?
yes. Okay, so this was a topic that we were debating, and I'm curious to see Tasha's input. And Nick and I didn't really come to our conclusion. Do we believe that these three girls who were doing this witchcraft stuff were just doing it for funsies and weren't really getting anywhere? And then when Sarah comes along and they're like, now we have this, and she's an actual fucking witch, which we know that, she's the one that shares her powers essentially with them. And that's why that they become powerful. And that's the reason why they become witches, is because Sarah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Okay.
the others
I
are
agree with-
posers.
Yeah.
And she's like a conduit. They have
Yeah.
all of like the book and like the knowledge by going to that store, and she's just a natural witch.
Yeah.
So that's why like at the end, I mean, we're jumping ahead, but that's why the others, like she's completely detached herself from the other three. So she still has powers, but they don't. They lost everything because she's not with them anymore.
And that's a whole
Yeah.
thing. That's a whole thing about covens too. Is that like the lore and mythology and stuff of witches is that when together their power basically pools together and they all collectively become more powerful. That's why witches like seek a coven, which technically 9 times out of 10 is 3 witches. So them doing the 4 witches, they do their own, like we've said, like they did their own thing. But having a coven, it amplifies each of their powers. So like it amplified Robin, right? Is that her name? No, Sarah. It amplifies Sarah's power that she already has, and then it basically kind of feeds the other girls some power because they didn't have any power to begin with. Once the coven's broken, Sarah continues to have power where the rest of them now have none.
Yeah, see, I didn't recognize that when I watched it as a teenager. I just assumed
no.
they were all witches. And then rewatching it now, which I'd seen it recently, like within the last couple of years, again, but like actually paying attention a little bit more, that's how I kind of drew that. I was like, I didn't even realize that for how many fucking years, like that she's the only one really here with any powers, and
Yeah, for like Nancy's character basically is the girl that's got a Marilyn Manson poster on her wall and thinks she's edgy. Bonnie basically, she likes The Cure. And, like that's it. Like there's like, we're dark and spooky. We like, all this stuff. And then like Robin is like legitimate, or God, I keep calling her by her. Yes, Sarah. Sarah like legit has power from within. The others are trying to learn witchcraft. She legitimately has it. Like, so.
Yep.
I never really thought of herself as a witch. She was like, sometimes I'll just think stuff and stuff happens, but it doesn't really happen all the time. Like when she talked about it wanting to rain and then a pipe bursts in her house, like she doesn't really have it calibrated because she's never talked to anybody about it. It's kind of who she is.
And it's 100% that whole idea of those who strive for power do not deserve power. Those who get power are the ones that are easily likely to let go of it. And this movie is purely that. Like that is the whole thing. She is a conduit. She doesn't necessarily want it, but she's got it. The others want it so bad for their own like selfish reasons, and once given that power, they abuse the fuck out of it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then everything bad starts to happen.
Yep.
So what was your guys' favorite scene? I know, Nick, that might be hard for you to pull from.
There's 100% a favorite scene, and it's the dumbest scene. And I love it for how dumb it is. I remember this scene so much. So it's basically when Robin, God damn it, Sarah. I'm looking at the names. They've got
Stop it.
I know. When Sarah's in her bedroom and fucking Chris is like throwing stones at her window and stuff. He's like, I just basically, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And then the dad comes out with the fucking flashlight and he's like, can I help you? He's like, nobody can help me. Like that kind of thing. It's so fucking dumb, but like that's the scene that I remember. So once it came there, I laughed. Like I laughed during this movie and stuff like that. I'm not saying that I didn't have like, there weren't scenes that I had a good time with, but like, am I like going into this? I was like, oh yeah, The Craft. Okay, yeah, cool. Maybe not so much now.
Aw, bummer. I loved Lovesick Chris when he's carrying everyone's stuff and just kind of like a lost puppy.
And he deserves it because he is a douchebag in the beginning.
He tries
to rape her. So like,
yeah. After telling everyone that he had sex with her and then was a dick when she asked him about it. Just like, so, like he had it coming. Yeah. And I love that.
So what's your favorite scene, Steph?
I don't know. I mean, the iconic one is like the light as a feather, stiff as a board scene, just because it's just legitimately like this. It's fun. I like the ocean scene too. I don't really care about like the stuff leading up to it when they're calling in the corners, but like seeing all of the dead animals on the beach and her walking on water was kind of cool. I don't know if I have an actual favorite scene. There's all of them are kind of iconic. I also like the bedroom scene when they're changing hair colors and eye colors and doing all of that stuff. That's fun. But the most memorable, and this sounds so fucked up, is when the mom is so excited to get like, they get $120,000 and they get this like, they're terrible with keeping money. Like, come on, they're buying like
this couch.
Yeah.
I love this couch.
Yeah. And then she walks over and she's like, I had to have this jukebox, and she puts her hands on it and she's like, have you ever heard of? And then I can't remember the musician's name.
I always want to say Patsy Cline. And it's not though. Patsy Cline.
It's not.
But it's the same style. It's like
old,
like kind of twangy,
country music, and then starts playing that music, and I was like, that movie, that's what reminds me of that movie every single time I think of it. I'm like, it's that lady in that fucking jukebox. So all of the
girls, do you girls remember the movie Mean Girls?
Yes.
Okay, the mom in this reminds me of the mom in Mean Girls that just wants to hang out with the girls. And I wonder if that's a callback, because it's almost identical. Her like chasing the girls down the hallway, like, oh, let's just hang out and just close the door on her. I was rewatching this. I was just like, I wonder if like that was intentional. Like if they're just like, oh, I love that scene in The Craft. We're gonna make the mom from The Craft.
Yeah. Very well could be.
What's yours, Tasha?
Mine is the beach scene. Shocking. Yeah. But back to that, when you were talking about like them getting the pension, I'm really curious. Like, I feel like the writing is shoddy in some spots. One of them, big one being the fact that this deadbeat husband who doesn't look like he has a job, doesn't pay the bills, but then ends up having like $175,000 pension.
Back in the day.
Not a life insurance policy.
Yeah, back in the day, how this kind of stuff worked. Nowadays, none of us get this shit. But if you had so much time clocked into a job, you got like a payout. It was like from the company. You like where I work. I'm not going to name drop it. Where I work, that used to be the case. And then they were just like, no, our workers don't deserve fucking certain benefits. They're fuck them, right? Back in the day, that was the case. Like these places, they wouldn't pay you up front. They would pay you later on if you clocked out at a certain time, like, like 20 years, whatever. So cops still have all this stuff. When you die or when you hit a certain time frame, it's just like, and here you've now got this pension that everything's been paying into.
Yeah. Why was he a sleazebag living like in squalor? That's the part that I don't understand. Probably
just burn his paycheck on booze and fucking strip clubs or some shit like that. Like he seemed like that kind of guy. Like, like it's his money. I'm gonna do whatever the fuck I want with it, and the family can suffer. Like those people exist. I know those people. Well, I don't hang with these people, but these people exist. They live in the world, and
it's true.
I did find in today's money that pension would be $341,000.
That's decent. That's a decent amount of
Pretty
money.
good chunk of money.
Yeah, hearing that amount, I just kind of laughed because I was like, that is not life-changing money to me. I'm not saying I wouldn't be grateful for it and stuff, but like be like, oh my God, I'm just going to waste it. It's like, nope, I'm just going to, set some money aside.
Buy a $10,000 couch that looks like shit. Yeah.
I might get my own fucking jukebox, so that would be dope. I am here for that. Like, I'm just gonna get an old school, and those things aren't fucking cheap either. Those old school like fucking Wurlitzer, I think it's Wurlitzer fucking jukeboxes. That's like 10 grand easy, and then you gotta stock it. Oh my God.
Oh man, you're in heaven. There were some cool little Easter eggs about like. As a kid watching it, I never really took much stock into each animal that the girls were bringing when they were going to the beach. But on here, I found something that said that Rochelle carried a clownfish because her passion is diving. Bonnie carries a butterfly, which is supposed to represent beauty and the adoration she longed for. It's Sarah carries a lovebird, which represents her desire for Chris, which is a little cheesy. And then Nancy carries a snake, which is symbolic of rebirth, transformation, and immortality.
That's cool.
Also, during that scene, they had to redo it a couple of times because like they were trying to do it during the tide, like getting it right with the tide. And it says on their official website, it said the crew had to return to the location a second time to complete filming that was interrupted by several weird occurrences that even caused the consultant, Pat Devon, to raise an eyebrow. She was the witch consultant. It says the fog rolled in at midnight. The 4 actresses used actual Wiccan rites and language to evoke powerful forces. Then, as Fairuza Balk's character Nancy attempts to evoke their deity, a flock of bats hovered over the set and the tide rose dramatically, extinguishing the circle of candles.
Cool.
Witchcraft consultant witchcraft consultant Devon recalls that Manon, a fictitious creature for the film, sounds very close to Manannan, which is a Gaelic god of the sea.
Correct.
She also said, luckily, we weren't all swept out to the sea. Also, director Andrew Fleming is quoted with saying, every time the girls started the ceremony, and only when they would start the ceremony, the waves would start acting and coming up tremendously fast and pounding heavy. Then right after Nancy says her line, Manon fill me, right at that exact moment, we lost power.
Oh,
it was
dope.
yeah. So like shit was happening on that beach.
Well,
that's
now,
cool.
And this is me being me, right? So it's like, did that actually happen? Or are they using that as like, oh, spooky stuff happened at the
Maybe.
thing? Like, but that's cool regardless. Like,
yeah. The only thing I thought was really poor writing in this, and I was joking about this with Nick, was
the words.
Okay. You're funny. So we have Neve Campbell's character. One is supposed to be Beauty, and she's all worried about the way she looks because she has scars on her back. Like, they're not all over her body.
Well, they're down her arms and stuff too. Like, that's why she's always wearing long sleeves.
Yeah, but like, it's the whole idea. Well, I'm not attractive because I have these scars. One, we don't know where the fuck she got these scars. We don't know anything about it. They don't tell us anything, which I was like, what the fuck? And then the other part was like about the beauty thing. And if it was on her face or it was on her neck and like all this stuff, I would understand. But like, she's gorgeous, okay? And then you're coming in here and you're like, man, she's got to cover up and she's got to do all these things. You need to sell it a little bit better, I think, because it's like, she's fucking gorgeous. If you were gonna pick somebody, you need to pick somebody who is maybe less attractive and then becomes attractive after this, or you need to pick a different thing.
But also, like, just kind of going like Hollywood view and stuff, right? You're not going to take an attractive actress and put her in prosthetic makeup for half the film to then remove it from her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yes,
why?
Because that's not the point. The point is to be like, hey, look, there's sexy people in this. Let's try to get the guys in here too. Like, that's just the kind of way it goes. It would be way better if they did that. Like, if it was like on her face, like she sees in the mirror later and everything, and then, like the unveiling of it or whatever. Yes. But like, the reason they don't do that is for dumb reasons, but that's the reason they're not going to do something like that. Now, they might do that now, but like back then, no.
I know, but it's disappointing because I liked it better. If they
Yeah.
would've-
Oh, absolutely.
I really didn't like the scene where she comes back after the surgery and she's just a bitch coming into class. Like
Day one.
I didn't like that trajectory. I didn't like her little arc.
Yeah, there
It was honestly my least favorite of the four.
there literally is no character development in this film, I feel.
No.
Like it is
Well, aside from her,
well, it's not development. It's literally just like, and now you're this, and now you're
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
There's no like it's so superficial. It's literally just like, so you got scars. Now you don't have scars, and you are going to be like literally the
Arrogant.
prototypical bitch. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's not even close to
Yeah.
like, and like even like Fairuza Balk's character Nancy has some, but even then it's very surface level. She's the leader of the pack. Now she's realizing she's not the leader of the pack, so now she's going to be a psycho. Like that's it.
well, no, I think it's the power is like getting a hold of her. So, and it like she's getting, for lack of a better word, like crazier because she's power hungry and she has this in her. So
But doesn't-
she's coming unhinged
But
because she can.
doesn't she start driving through the red lights and stuff and all that before she gets the power because
No.
she's like doesn't
she had the
change the
power.
last one. Because she's
Yeah.
like, whoa, that one was close. I thought that was all the build up towards it. And
No, she already had the power at that point.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, she was already abusing the power because that scene that you're referring to is when the rift started because Sarah wanted to do a binding spell then, and that's when they turned on her. So it was
Gotcha.
from that point on that everyone like the other three are starting to get more and more,
Abusive of their power.
yeah, exactly, more kind of, I can't think of the word, but yeah, they're abusing their power. They're not as humble. Their clothes are changing, their attitudes are changing, and they're bonding together where Sarah's just like, what the hell's going on, guys? This is supposed to just be fun.
And very much so, seeing of the 90s and stuff, Rochelle's like character is kind of just like, she's dealing with a racist person. Like that is barely addressed. Like it's like, oh, and she makes her hair fall out, but like that's about it. Very one note character. They could have done a lot more with her. Like I couldn't tell you any way that she changes from beginning to end other than that she gets help from Sarah to do the hair thing that causes her hair to fall out. You don't really see much more of her, and I think that like she could have been a far more interesting character if the writing gave a shit about her. Like that's the thing, is like it just feels like, oh, we've got a black girl in here and we're gonna make it racist like towards her, and it's like that's very lazy writing. Like
and that was a rewrite too when she was cast to make it more like personal to her. But on the flip side, a big kind of shadow or like a dark cloud that's hanging over this is for a lot of things she got left out of.
Yeah.
As like she wasn't invited to like the VMAs, I think, and she was left out of a lot of press junkets, which I think is shitty.
Yeah, it's super shitty because like they literally like they've got this girl that like she does a good job and everything, but it's so much just like this has nothing to do with her. Okay, this has to do with the fact that like we have 4 girls that we're going to focus on. It's not necessary to have 4 if we're only going to focus on 3. You know, you could have taken Rochelle and Bonnie's character, made it one character. You could have still cast Rachel True as that character. You could have made it a way more interesting character. The literal thing of like, say you have Rochelle and she's scarred and now she's dealing with the racist girl and that's why the hair is coming out. All of that stuff works as one character. They took this character, they split it. Oh, look, we've got our token black girl here. We're going to make racist things. And like, we're not going to, to me, it's very disrespectful to the character and the actress that is portraying that role to just be like, well, we've got a black person, let's make it racist for that role. There's no gravity to it other than that.
Well, what bothered me the most about that is that she literally, like, she's all these other characters are they feel the power, they don't feel guilty for their power, and then when she sees her sitting on the floor pulling her hair out, now she's starting to have empathy for this character, for the person who actually deserves it more than fucking Chris.
And we don't go down, and we also don't go down that road of her dealing with it. Like, we see her feel bad at that given moment, and then when we cut to the other thing, she's a bitch, and it doesn't fucking make sense. It's again, that's where I was
writing.
100%.
I agree with that.
That's me as an adult watching the film. These are the reasons, like, coming back, I'm like, oh man, like, yeah, like, I understand why I liked it as a kid, but like, it is glaring these things, and I'm just like, god damn, like, realistically, this could have been 3 witches. You could have still cast Rachel True as Bonnie or Rochelle, whatever. Just combine those characters. Like, this is not me saying get rid of the black character. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is,
I liked her as an actress. She was good.
You still make it. You could still make that, like, racial tension and stuff like that. I'm not saying that they couldn't have done that, but you could have made it matter. Like, just being like, oh, we've got this blonde white chick that's going to be fucking racist to her, and then, like, give nothing else. It is of its time, definitely.
I agree. The other thing I thought was this is what bothered me the most, I think, about the movie, is the fact that we have a witch. She's just coming into her own. And the one thing, all these other women, I want to get rid of my scars. I want to invoke the spirit. I want to be strong because I, live in a fucking trailer. And the one thing that she picks is a guy that didn't want her and left rumors about her and was like, I just want Chris to like me. That is teaching girls, especially at that age, absolute bullshit.
That's where the man writing comes out.
Yes.
That's where you see the man writing.
That is the biggest level of bullshit in the whole story. You could have had her be like, I want to enact revenge on this dude for what he did, but that's not how it was treated. It was like, she legitimately says she wants Chris to like her.
For no reason other than that she likes the way he looks. Like, even when he shows his true colors and is an absolute piece of shit, she's so dumb, written dumb, that she's like, well, I'll forgive it as long as I can not, like, and it's not even like that she still wants to have sex with him or whatever, because when that comes, she doesn't want that. She just wants him. Like, I don't fucking get it. It's so...
I want him to like me. And then Bonnie is that our one character was like, well, he's a piece of shit and you shouldn't want him and all this. And instead of listening to your friend and being like, yeah, he probably is a piece of shit, like, let it go.
Nancy warns the shit out of her.
That's what it is.
Nancy warns the shit out of him because like, she'd hooked up with him and stuff. And
that's the one.
He ran, like, so she's doing, like, the best friend thing of, like, don't learn from my mistakes. Doesn't listen to her friend, doesn't do any of that, still wants Skeet Ulrich. Like, Neve Campbell's gonna fucking deal with Skeet Ulrich later this year and, like, learn her lesson too. And just
legitimately. I know. Yeah, so fucked up. Like, that is, you're right. That's the man writing. Like, the girl still wants the boy that doesn't want her and treats her like trash.
And that's
Don't teach girls that.
And that was the narrative for so long.
And it's 100% though, like, if you look at this film as, one of those, let's try to get everybody that we can into this theater. Let's make it PG-13. They failed on that. So we need love interest. We need attractive character. We need, and it does no service to the film. It may have done service to the box office because at the end of the day, this is a product. It is not art. That's like the thing. Like, this is a big budget film, like, especially for its time. Horror films aren't getting, like the budgets that they get nowadays for some things and everything. So they've got to get you somehow. So like as kids, and I'm imagining you girls also didn't see that stuff as glaring. You're just like, oh, well, like, he is hot.
I'd want him to love me too, but then you realize, like, oh wait, he's a literal piece of garbage.
I may want him for the wrong reasons.
Right. Yeah.
They played into the stereotypes a lot, I think, and that doesn't lend to a good service of the film in terms of plot.
No, but like, I mean, I 100% would be on board with a legitimate remake, not an IP holding remake of this movie, and knowing, the what this movie could be. It could still be PG-13. I don't give a shit. But I would rather see like, you know, the people that are going to want to go see that movie are the ones that saw it when they were kids. So make it a rated R film. Fucking, and it doesn't have to be gory. That's not the thing. You could make it The Conjuring. Just make it scary, you know? The reason The Conjuring got it was because it was scary. Fucking make it scary. And not the fact of like, oh, so make the witches.
Yeah, and have their reasoning for actually being
Actual
what
characters.
they are really good character arcs.
Yeah,
Better writing.
Give the characters reasons for doing stuff other than just like, I want the only attractive guy in this movie to like me. Okay.
Yeah.
Who treats me like dog shit. Yeah.
It's definitely a sped up plot. If you
Yeah.
don't look at it for the plot and just the magic of it,
I agree.
Yes, 100%. Like this is not a movie to watch to dissect. Like,
right? This isn't a thinker.
The only
No.
reason we're doing this is because this is our homework for this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never in a million years would I watch this movie and go like, let me write my thesis statement on The Craft. But like, I mean, when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, the writing of it, it really is like, it feels like it was written over a weekend. Because
Maybe.
it's like, we have this character. What more do you want? I don't know. We just got these bullet points. Next character. That's what I'm talking about. Not the narrative, but like the characters. It doesn't, they literally are like, so what's Chris's thing? He's attractive. He's an asshole. Next. What, you know, like that's it. Like that's all of it.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about the end scene because there are some pretty cool things with that. Yeah, there is some shitty CGI and there's not a lot of depth, like you said earlier, Nick. But when we're talking about practical effects, I thought it was cool to note that all of those snakes and rats and bugs, they're all real.
Yeah, that's a lot too.
That's disgusting.
When the toilet is puking up worms and maggots, that's
all real.
That's some good stuff. I am here for that. That is effective. That's good.
Yeah. And it was also more cost effective, which I thought was interesting. And what's her name? Sarah's character actually did all of that. Like she was immersed in all of that herself. It wasn't a stunt double except for the rat falling on her shoulder.
Oh.
That was the only thing that was done with a double. Everything else the actors did. There were over 10,000 snakes.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Andrew Fleming shared, we had 10,000 snakes. There was an animal trainer, and I just said, let's get the most bugs and snakes that you can possibly manage.
Now,
Done.
this is what I'm talking about. They did that scene. They could have, like, I'm not saying that the whole movie had to be that, but that is effective. They could have made so much more of it that effective.
Okay,
Yeah, that
but
was really cool.
so here, the serpent, like obviously does that associate with Nancy, and that's why the snakes are a thing in this, because the snake's a big thing in this whole movie from the beginning to the end. Like the guy runs in at the beginning with the snake. They don't really cover why that is, and then we have snakes at the end.
There's a huge thing, and I don't know what Tasha has like actual research wise, but like my like understanding and stuff is, you know, witches, right? So, and then Jesus, right? And serpents, Satan, all of that kind of stuff, like the serpent in the Garden of Eden and all of that stuff. That's where I saw like the
line
trajectory.
drawing.
Yeah, the line drawing was like, let's make the, you know, Nancy's character the viper. Like she is a snake in her like character.
Yeah.
That's where I saw
But it's
it.
so loose in the way that it's
everything in this
shown.
movie is
Like a
loose.
guy runs in with a snake in the beginning, and then we've got the same like
And he gets hit
religious
by a
weird guy.
car
He gets
for no
hit by a
fucking
car. Yeah.
Well, I
and then
thought about it.
And then at the end, there's all these snakes and bugs again. And I'm like, I'm not saying that wasn't an effective thing, but nobody shows that that's like a fear in this.
They do. They do.
Oh.
Sarah mentions earlier in the movie, I think it might have been at one of their sleepovers, that she used to have visions of that. She would be dreaming and there would just be snakes everywhere, all over her. And then she would wake up and they would still be there.
And she does freak out that the guy has a snake. But the thing is like, I thought that the guy that comes in with a snake was like the gardener. He's just a homeless guy that shows up with a snake.
Exactly.
What the fuck?
That
It would
she
have made
happens
way
to
more
run
sense.
into again.
I agree.
Yeah. Goddamn.
That was a missed opportunity. All of that I didn't quite understand.
You know what, listeners?
Yeah.
You know what, listeners? We're getting around to later this year. We're going to do a Patreon, right? Later down that road, you start giving us money, we will rewrite The Craft, and we will have them make a more logical version of this movie.
Man.
Oh
man.
my gosh.
I did have one problem, and it made sense after really thinking about it. When Nancy has Sarah up against the wall with a knife and is trying her hardest to stab her with it.
Okay.
I had a really big problem with that because I was like, what the hell? There are so many other spots. Why isn't she hitting her? And then I remembered that's the binding spell already setting in.
Oh.
Sarah had done the binding spell earlier, to her face.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
So that's why, if you're wondering why it looks so ridiculous, it's because
can't do harm to others and herself.
Yeah.
Right, she physically can't hurt her. So I thought that was really cool. It was a little nod.
That
You have to
literally,
pay attention.
that's some good writing. That went over my head. I just
Me too.
I was like, oh, she's just freaking out, and just fucking kill her already.
Right, stab her in the chest. Why is this so difficult? It's because she can't.
Oh,
So
that's
I thought
okay.
that was cool.
Okay, I'll give that a pass.
Well, there we go.
That was better. That was better.
I'm not here to shit on the movie. These are just the things. These are just the things I noticed. So I didn't notice that. So
Yeah, me either. So, okay.
So, well, that's The Craft, guys.
okay.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Is there
Who's gonna
anything
do
else
reviews?
about that movie though? Let me think here.
It actually wasn't that long.
Who was your favorite character?
Oh, yeah. My favorite character was the bookshop keeper.
Oh, okay.
I really liked her. That was another thing. Shitty writing with why the hell did Sarah go I can't be here when Nancy's coming after her? That's literally the best spot to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, it
But
doesn't.
I really liked. I can't remember her name. It started with an L, but I really liked the bookshop keeper. Of course, Nancy's character because she's so unhinged.
Lario, I
Something-
think is her name.
Yeah, that's.
I've got it here, and that's how I'm going to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say Sarah's my favorite character. I liked
Sarah?
her.
I would have to say it's a toss up. There's no one character in this that I like. Who is the best acted character? I would say is Nancy by
Hands
far.
down.
Remove the rape scene. Okay. Our Chris though is probably one of my favorites just because of how fucking dumb he is in it.
Yeah, that's true.
He becomes the comic relief in it. Even when she's like, "Why did you?" And it's such a shitball move, but why did you tell everybody that you had sex with me? He's like, "I don't want to go see you. I don't want to see you again anymore. You're really pathetic." All this kind of stuff. I'm just like, what an asshole! But it makes me laugh because it's such a caricature of. I mean, granted, there are people that act like that. But it was like that. So Nancy and Chris are my two favorites because Nancy, acting wise, Fruza Balk does a great job in this. And then for comedic effect and stuff, Chris's character, like I said, not because I agree with him as a person. I just like him in the church, fucking being I don't know, man, and his friends are just giving him shit, fucking missing the football because one girl's get him, Chris, and he just fucking falls on his face. All that kind of stuff I do like. It brings levity to the film. Because Nev Campbell as Bonnie, literally it's just there for eye candy, for me anyhow. I don't think anybody could have played that role. She doesn't bring anything to it personally.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Rochelle is barely a factor
character
in this.
I know.
I
That's
think she
sad.
did well, but whatever. Same with Laura. I think that they could have probably cast somebody better than her because she just very comes off like Jan Brady. It is her in this film, racist Jan Brady.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say Chris and Nancy.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What are we doing
Nice.
for reviews?
Yeah. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Oh, you'll go first. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
We'll do a shit sandwich. We'll
Sounds good.
we'll take the shit in the middle and we'll put it in between two bread slices that are
So you're
better
the shit.
reviews.
That's
I'll be the
nice.
shit. I am the
Okay.
shit.
Yeah,
I love
that's nice.
bread.
Oh,
All right. So we have to guess what Steph is going to give it.
I'm gonna write down my review on here.
Okay, 6.5 for Steph. I think that's what she's gonna give it.
I think she's going to give it a 6.
Okay.
Okay. So I think this movie holds up in the sense of it being like entertaining, I guess, like in the sense of like bringing back nostalgia. Would I have liked this movie as an adult now had I not watched it a bajillion times as a child, a young teenager, whatever? Probably not, because it's not the best writing. It doesn't hold, like it's definitely a nostalgia watch. Like there are certain movies you just watch and you realize as an adult that they're probably not the greatest movies, but you like them because you liked them as a kid. So I don't really have a whole lot else to say about it that we haven't already talked about. And Tasha was right. I gave it a 6. So,
okay. All right. I've dogged on this movie enough through it, so I'm not going to just regurgitate what I said.
Okay.
Like ad nauseum. But I am going to say, like, what do you guys think that I gave this film?
I think you gave it a 4.5.
I'm going to say a 3.5.
Okay. Tasha hit it right on the
Okay.
Dude,
right on
I
the
am
head.
killing it.
You
today.
are. You're doing great.
4.5. Because this is probably going to be my last viewing of this movie. That was
Oh.
I instantly said that like when it was over. I was like, I'm not gonna like this. This killed my nostalgia for it. This is not me going like they ruined my childhood. I've done this to myself multiple times. It's kind of like rewatching The Neverending Story now. I loved that movie as a kid. I rewatched it. I was like, God damn, I had shit taste. I still have shit taste. I don't care. But yeah, like the acting's real flat. Like I agreed with that. Like no, like the only person that like is a believable character is Nancy in this whole movie. The rest of them are just, it doesn't fucking matter. The writing's dog shit. The direction is very of its time. Lots of swirling camera angles and stuff like that. That just it's very, very of its time and not in a good way. Considering this came out the same year as Scream, like that's the thing. Is like, you know, Scream wasn't made for much more than this, if at all. Like, you know, like it was not a big budget film. It just made a fuck ton of money because it's a better
really
movie.
Yeah.
It's a way better movie that has aged well. This has not aged well in my book.
They were actually made for the same amount.
There you go.
Holy shit.
There you go. Like same year, same budget. Fucking Scream still slaps. This can fucking kick rocks.
Okay.
So 4.5 for me, right?
Yeah.
Even going into this, I did not expect it to be like that for me. I was like, at best, it's probably going to be a 7. At worst, probably a 6. And then I was just by the end of the film, I was like, man, this did not age well for me. So 4.5.
Okay.
Well, I'm glad you got to experience what I have to experience many times.
Yes.
Well, no, because many times you don't have the nostalgia grab to it. That's what I'm saying. It's like
That's true.
I went into this going like, you know what? Like I haven't been chomping at the bit, but I haven't watched this in a long time. I'm sure that this is still held up because like I remembered the cast and everything. And then it was literally the writing is what kills this movie for me. It's not the blood and gore, the absence of blood and gore. I didn't even realize it was rated R. I thought this was a PG-13.
I did too.
My whole argument and stuff about the rated R stuff is it would have been better if they knew that they were getting the R anyway because they wouldn't have pulled punches.
Right.
If this was a PG-13 film, it makes sense. But since that's that whole argument that I've got there, it doesn't affect my rating of the movie. It's just it didn't hold up for me.
I get it. All right, what do you guys think I gave it?
I'm guessing you gave this movie an 8.
I'm gonna guess she gave it a 7.
I gave it a 7.
Okay.
Yay.
Yeah. So it definitely held up nostalgia wise. Yeah, the writing is a problem. There are bits where it's just like, what the hell are you doing? But this will, like I said at the beginning, this is a comfort watch for me. I'm going to keep it around. Nick, I do have a question. So you said this is the last time you'll ever watch it. What if Sid wanted to watch it or was like, hey, Dad, watch this with me?
I would watch it. I mean, I'll watch anything with any of our kids. Like, if they're like, I want to watch this with you. I'm like, okay, whatever, cool. Especially if it's horror. And I would suggest this for, like I said, this is baby's first rated R horror. Because it's not supposed to be rated R. So it's kind of the thing of like having the little
like
kid.
A cheat.
Yeah, you get the little kid and you give them the controller that's not hooked up while you're playing the video game. It's that whole idea. So all of that, like, yeah, I would watch it again if that were the case, but there's never going to be a day that I go, I want to watch The Craft.
Gotcha.
But like, yeah, Sydney's already seen this. She likes it. She likes The Craft and stuff because it is like you girls. It is of that thing, and she loves Heathers, which that one girl said. Like, it's that same vibe.
Got you.
But yeah, like, yeah,
I'm just curious.
Yeah, absolutely.
That gives The Craft a 60%.
Yeah, that's fair.
You'll more than like it.
Yeah, you'll more than likely like it. This isn't going to be for everyone. I'm very interested to see what everybody's like real take on it, like looking, like understanding what they thought of it, and not just allowing that to be like, well, I loved it, so I still love it. But like really, like kind of going back and going like, does it hold up? Because like okay. Currently wearing a Reanimator shirt. I understand shitty writing, campiness. I'm not saying that Reanimator's shittily wrote, but there's a lot of flat acting and all that.
There's a lot of stuff in that movie.
I understand all that. And that's my whole thing is like, I'm not trying to say that everything has to be, Midsummer, for instance, right?
Right. Yeah, of course.
But even for what this is supposed to be, I just think that it just doesn't hold up.
Okay.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
But like realistically thinking about it, like 90s witch. Oh, this was something I wanted to bring up. So like 90s witch movies is one thing. You had practical magic and some stuff like
Loved
that,
it.
right?
Yeah, that movie's good.
I essentially just wanted to be a witch, and that still holds true.
Here is my point, okay? It doesn't have to be bloody, gory craziness, because Sabrina, the new Sabrina series that came out, is what they could do for The Craft now.
Yeah, I agree.
They could legitimately, because that show, have you watched that, Tasha?
I haven't. I forgot it existed.
You should watch it. It's really fucking good.
It is really good.
And it's not like it's horror and all this stuff, but like it's still approachable for younger people, but it is straight up like we are dealing with Satan. Like no fucking like pussyfooting around.
You're not like beating around the bush, gotcha.
No, it's literal
straight up Satan.
Yes. Like goat-headed, like in it to win it, dealing with hell, all this stuff. But like it leans into that without ostracizing its fucking viewer base. And that's what I'm talking about, is like they could still fucking do that. They could just take like that kind of approach to it and make it about this like young coven of witches, but then like don't pussyfoot around it. Make it fucking dark, because this shit, they're dealing with dark shit.
Yeah, like Sabrina does. I think Sabrina actually does a really, really good job of not making it overly gory or anything like that, but still keeping the topics very dark and very horror based.
Okay.
So, yeah, I agree. Okay, are we championing this week?
I have nothing really to champion.
We can champion it together.
Okay.
We can do that. I know.
Okay.
So
What do you? We saw Deadpool and Wolverine twice since they came out. We saw it Thursday opening night, and we saw it Saturday.
Yes.
I love that for you.
I want to see it again this week. And so if you guys haven't seen Deadpool, Wolverine, you live under a fucking rock and didn't know it existed, you should go to the movies and see it, because this might be my favorite Marvel movie. It is so fucking good. Oh my God.
I pray.
It's a great comic book film. I'm still on the fence if it's my favorite Marvel film. The only reason is how much I love Captain America: Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
This is it's one of those things though. This is a more enjoyable film as just a film. Winter Soldier is a more important film in the overarching 500 movies that is Marvel.
That's true.
So that's my thing, is like, that's where I have a hard time saying, is this my favorite Marvel film? I don't know. Like, I'm fighting with myself.
Narrative wise, this isn't that important in the MCU
lots of dick jokes,
stuff.
Insanely violent. It's got an amazing van scene.
Oh my God. So good. So good. Yeah. And you'll never look at NSYNC the same. Like, it's so good.
If you were even tangentially interested in recommend watching it. I highly suggest seeing it like in a full theater, because the first time we watched it was about half full. The second time we watched it, it was a full theater, and how loud people were laughing, gasping, "Oh my fucking godding," and stuff. It's a good time.
Yeah.
I saw the second one in theaters, and I was the only one. I will never remember. I'll never forget. I was the only one that laughed when the Invisible Man went through the wood chipper. I laughed so loud, out loud, and it was crickets everywhere else.
Yeah, this movie is better than the first two, I think.
It was 100%. It's the best of the trilogy.
Yeah, their bromance in this is top notch. Hugh Jackman is just, he's a treasure. I love him.
Say the name right.
Hugh Jackman is great. Yeah.
And honestly, that's what turns me off on this. I don't really care for Wolverine.
He's amazing in this.
He is amazing in this, yeah. It's a Deadpool movie with Wolverine. It's not a Wolverine movie with Deadpool. That's the reason why the when it's named Deadpool and Wolverine, it really does lend to it being a Deadpool movie with Wolverine. Yeah. So if you like the Deadpool stuff being the forefront, then you like Deadpool, you will like this movie. And if you like mutants,
you get to see Hugh Jackman fucking go unleashed and fucking not have to be like, well, it's PG-13. It's like, no, this is fucking R, and it's going to he is going to be fucking an R-rated character, and it's great.
I didn't think about that. It's an R-rated Marvel movie.
Yeah, it's insane, and it was
pure insanity.
It was fucking exactly.
Oh, the best part, and this is not giving anything away. Second viewing though, when you get to see it with people that haven't seen it, and they like, oh my god, at an early scene, and you go, I just looked over at Steph. I was like, they have no idea what's about to happen later in this movie.
Oh man,
the guys beside us were so loud. They were like, this one dude. They have a couple cameo, well, it's not really cameo appearance, surprise appearances of characters you would not expect, and they've kept it really under lock and key really well. And so when you get to that scene and the people, like, you have the first person walk out and everybody's like, oh, and then they're trying to figure out who this person is, and then the next person comes out and the guy beside us throws his arms in the air and he's like, fuck yes, or something like that. I was like, yes, it was so amazing. It was so good.
It does some great bait and switches too. If you've lived under a rock, this is me just talking to you, Tasha.
You may have sold me.
If you give a shit at all about the Marvel Universe at all, you're doing yourself a disservice not seeing this in a theater. Like, this is a fucking great time.
It's amazing. And the music is top notch, amazing music.
Good
so,
time.
Well,
it was so much fun. Yeah, so much fun.
All right, what do you got to champion, Tasha?
Okay.
Enough Deadpool gush.
Yeah,
I'm championing. We really have to change that word. It's so hard to say.
It is, yeah.
At any rate, I'm championing the Olympics opening ceremony. Because that was 4 hours of just amazement. That's all. I loved it so much. And I know, like, the majority of people have probably watched it. If not, I highly recommend people check out the clips of all of the different installations throughout everything. I personally loved the fencer parkour guy just running through this, like, the rooftops of Paris. That was so cool. I loved the imagery. It was amazing. So good. It was so exciting. We watched it with Wyatt also, so it was really cool. He got to, like, learn a bunch of different countries and kind of the history of Paris and France a little bit. It was very, very cool.
Gojira playing at the Bastille with Marie Antoinette's decapitated body. Like, it's fucking so, like, I got to see Gojira years ago. I have Joe's fucking custom shop guitar beside me. I'm a big Gojira fan. To see them get to do that, I was just like, fuck you, Metallica. Like, because only reason I say that is because Metallica always is like the first band to do the big stuff. Like, that's just what it is. Like, they're the big metal band. They get first. So to see, like, because they're from France and everything, to see France be like, get them, boys, was awesome.
And just, like, the representation of one, like people walking on the catwalk, like, it was just representing everybody. And then, like, the amount of different types of music that was playing, like, it was just so cool. This is probably my third opening ceremony I've watched, and this was by far the best one I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So good. So That's
And
my
then you get to
champion.
watch the Olympics and
Yeah, we were watching
see
it
all the
last
good stuff.
night.
We watched it last
Yeah.
night.
Gonna watch it
I was
again.
watching the gymnastics
today.
this morning. Yeah, it's
Yep.
just going to kind of always be on in the background. And we have
Yeah,
a bunch
the
of stuff being saved and recorded. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah,
And
we're
this is
gonna
the
watch
first
some
year
more
that
today.
skateboarding is a Olympic
Yeah.
sport, an Olympic sport. I'm super stoked for that.
Yeah.
They had women's skateboarding on this morning.
Yep.
Mhm. The finals.
Oh, is the finals already for? I thought it was
for women's.
I thought it was Heat 4. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll talk offline about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, super excited.
Yeah, super dope.
They mentioned one more thing. There are more nations represented in the Olympics than there are in the UN. So
Oh, cool.
that's also something like the
Very
power
cool.
of sports. People,
Mhm.
206 countries represented. So
And,
nice.
and I know that we have like a little bit of a foothold in Australia with our listeners and stuff like that. And with that, I would like to say, you got us in the women's swimming. I get that, but we got you in the men's 4x4 swimming.
Yeah,
so
we
you
did.
Suck it.
you also have Patty Mills on your basketball team, and that's really cool.
Yeah, Australia is
All
our second highest listener rate from countries around the world. So, hello
Wow.
to our Aussie fans out there.
I just ate at an Australian food truck yesterday at an art festival. So
Nice.
if you ever get a chance to eat vanilla slice, guys, holy shit, it's amazing.
Is vanilla slice a
sausage
meal?
roll?
Is that
It's a dessert.
food? Oh, okay.
Food, yeah. It's like this much custard and then like flaky pastry on the top and bottom. Oh my god, it was amazing.
Oh, I can get down with
Sausage
that.
roll.
Custard.
It's like full of ground sausage and a bunch of delicious spices. This is now apparently a food podcast.
Tasha's Food Corner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally.
I like it. So anyway,
Yeah, hell
Australia has really tasty food.
yeah. All right. So now
All
that
right, homework.
now that we've championed this stuff, I alluded to this earlier. The girls know what's happening.
Yes.
Some of our listeners are praying that this is happening. So this is a listener requested homework.
Yes.
And we are going to be watching Terrifier 2
Yep.
solely because it was requested multiple times. Multiple times. I tried to hold them off, but the listeners requested this and they said, I want to hear Tasha's reaction to this film. So we are going to be watching Terrifier 2 for homework this week.
I'm
That's
fine
what
with
I
that.
do for the listeners.
Yeah.
Hey,
Listeners,
don't
you ask.
don't
you might
say that
receive
Tasha doesn't fucking like throw herself on the fucking
a fire for you guys.
yeah, this
Yes, literally.
is going to be great.
I
So-
just keep telling myself, like, I got a good movie in this week.
Yeah, and
Next week,
you'll
well-
get another movie after that you like. Two things I'd like to point out, Tasha. This is probably going to be the most graphic horror film that we have watched for
Cool.
this podcast. It's
Great.
also on the longer side. This movie
Oh.
this movie is like 2.5
I just
hours.
Googled it. Oh my god, guys!
There are very few films. I always make the joke that's like, are you gonna make Wyatt? Are you gonna have Wyatt watch this with you?
Yeah.
This came up in conversation, and Wesley was like, "Oh, I want to watch it." I was like, "There is under no circumstance that I will let you watch this movie until you're in high school. This
Whoa.
movie goes fucking hard. I'm not okay. Like, Sydney's going to be a freshman this year, and even then, I'm like, I'm not gonna put it on for you, but you can watch it on your own."
Wow.
But Maya watched it and she liked it. So
Maya watched it, and I expected her to like throw up in her hands. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my god! What are you kidding me? Why, people?
This is not me. This is not me.
All right.
This is our listener base. We are
Getting-
slaves to
getting ready for
the listens.
Yes.
Well, if you guys want to watch it along with us, it's on Peacock and Tubi and Pluto.
And you also don't need to see the first one to watch the second one.
Yeah. But I guess the clown's name is Art, right? Is that what
Yep,
his name
Art the
is?
Clown.
Okay. Art the Clown. So I was watching somebody talking about Spirit Halloween this year, like getting it ready and up and going, and that the amount of like fanfare for this fucking clown has like literally skyrocketed him into stardom in such a short period of time that is like kind of unheard of in terms of
And this
horror
was-
movie stuff.
This was an independently funded film series.
Yeah.
The second one, like the first one, I don't believe got like a wide release by any means. The second one did, and it fucking like went crazy.
Yeah.
Fucking insane. So we'll get way more into that when we talk about the episode next week and stuff, but like it's insane that this guy, like Art the Clown, has basically become Michael Myers and Freddy. He is on that fucking pedestal.
Yep. And that's such a short time to
and you're about to see
there.
why, Tasha.
Great. I'm so excited.
I'm nervous. This is one of the few movies I'm nervous to watch because this might be too much for me. Not in the gore sense of like, but it just being too visceral. But we'll find out.
The first time I watched this was on a fucking coast-to-coast flight to Washington, and I moved my screen away from everyone because I was like, I do not need a stewardess walking over my shoulder seeing this.
And then I look over and there's like blood everywhere on the screen, and I was like, great.
Yep. So.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Well.
So, Tasha, do you want to sign us out for your birthday?
Sure. Well, for Pod of the Dead. What are we? What is this? For Pod of the Dead, I am Natasha.
I am Stephanie.
And I'm Nicholas.
Come back and listen to us, or else.